and welcome to another masterclass with the Modern Conducting Academy. I'm Dr. Jacqueline Normandy, the founder, and tonight we have Professor Jasmine Fripp, who's here to tell us how to get back to the heart of music by putting humans first, then everything else. With that, I'll hand it over to Professor Fripp.
Thank you so much for that beautiful introduction. I am so happy to be here with you all because this is a topic that I'm super passionate about. And I'm not going to lie, this is kind of like a bucket list item because I've always seen the Modern Conducting Academy's videos. And I'm just like, I want to be there one day. And ta-da! Now I'm here. And I get to talk about something I'm super passionate about. So just a little bit about myself. I just thought about this. This is my 11th year of teaching, which is bonkers. And I've taught in all different kinds of settings. So I started my career off at a high school in Orangeburg, South Carolina. The culture there was just phenomenal. I worked with predominantly Black students, and we had two historically Black colleges right next door. So the culture was already embedded. They were so musical, and a lot of them had a church background. So their ears were impeccable. Like if I hold up the number three, they could burst out in the three-part harmony at the drop of a dime. And it like we had such a good time. The culture had already been there because I inherited a 26-year-old program. Actually, probably older, but the teacher who was there had been there for 26 years. So the culture that I developed or just added on to, it was super easy. Then I took 3 years off of the classroom and I just did some exploring, did some songwriting, worked a regular 9 to 5. And I went back into the classroom in 2018. And when I say, man, like the culture had shifted drastically and just within those 3 years of me having that time off. And I ended up at a school where they had not had a steady teacher in years. There was no choir culture whatsoever. And I was building from the ground up. So it was really, really hard, but I did what I could and I had some great wins with that particular school. Then I journeyed over to a middle school that lasted for about a year. Middle school is not my ministry, but it required a different thing from me. It required more energy. It required way more flexibility, especially because middle schoolers, they're hormones are just everywhere. So like one day they could be on cloud nine and the next day it's just like, I hate everybody. And I'm just like, oh, okay, well, do you hate me today? I don't know what's going on. And then I ended up at a high school, worked there for 4 years. They had a revolving door of teachers. And I was coming in like during the pandemic. So I started that choir on Zoom. And eventually we got to a point where it was like, okay, we got kids in all state. Okay, we got students who are making mid-state. Okay, we're able to go out and win competitions. This is great. And now I'm at a collegiate program, the Tennessee State University, and it's been a phenomenal time. And I just so happened to walk into this position. I was not looking to teach college at all, but what I realized is that college students are just older high school students. It's a true thing. Um, and I was able to build a culture here, doing some of the same things I would do with my high schoolers, icebreakers, making sure that we had retreats, having time to build community. And so, I know that was a very long introduction. Y'all are probably like, what the heck? Why is she spending so much time on this introduction? I did all of this to show you the variety of places I've worked in, but also bring to the forefront how on earth was it that I was able to create wins? How was I able to create joyous choir cultures? How was I able to build wherever I was planted or grow wherever I was planted? And the answer is simple. I put humans first, then everything else. Now, we as music teachers, we know that we are more than music teachers. So when I say putting humans first over everything else, I'm talking about our little humans, the ones that sing in our chairs because we can't make chairs sing, the ones who play in our chairs, the ones who are always there for us. We put those humans first before all of our other tasks, before all of the other opinions before all of the, oh, you should be doing. Mm-mm-mm. What is it that my students need in this moment? So tonight, that's something that we're going to dive into. We're going to talk about what it means to prioritize product or person over product. We're going to talk about how to create a culture before curriculum. We're going to talk about what it means to create a joyous, quiet culture. And my formula is very simple. You create a culture of belonging, a culture of confidence, and create a culture of excellence. What does that even look like? So let's dive into it. The first things first, prioritize the person over the product. You have to prioritize your humans over everything else. In certain schools that I've worked for, I've had people come and try to tell me, well, maybe your choir should be singing this type of music, or why hasn't your choir done this? Why hasn't, well, that's my favorite line. Back in my day, when I was a part of this ensemble, when I went to this, first and foremost, that was back in your day. This is today's day and age. Let me teach the kids in front of me, not what you think it's supposed to be. And I have to shut all the outside noise out. Like, no, I'm building relationships with my students. I know exactly where they need to be, and I know exactly where they are. So I'm going to, in a healthy way, prioritize making sure my students feel safe, confident, making sure they feel excellent, making sure that they feel like what they're doing is achievable, and sometimes even challenging them before I worry about what an alum has to say, before I have to worry about what a parent has to say, before I worry about a principal who's just mesmerized or like just in a state of nostalgia thinking about his old glory days. Like, mm-mm-mm. This isn't about you. This is about the students that I'm teaching in front of me. Culture before curriculum. I am known as the passionate Black educator outside of me actually teaching in the classroom. And with that, I work with and I go around the country teaching music teachers just different ways to be inclusive within their classroom and different anti-racist practices and healing centered practices as well. And I also teach how to make sure you're including that culture within your curriculum. So before you even think about, oh, I like this song, I'm going to program this. No, 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 no. What is the culture of your classroom? Okay. Surface level, look at your students. What cultures do they come from? Are they African American? Do you teach a predominantly Asian Island Pacific group of students? Do you teach majority Hispanic students? I'll keep it really plain and use me as an example. I don't know if you noticed, but I'm a Black woman. I've taught Hispanic students, large bodies of Hispanic students. I can't just because I'm comfortable with teaching gospel, because I'm comfortable with teaching Motown, because I'm comfortable with teaching R&B, ignore my Hispanic population. It is my job to make sure I find ways to include my Hispanic students within the rep that I choose, within the activities that we do. So I have to make sure I'm observing the culture as far as ethnicity and where they come from within the curriculum. I also have to take in mind, like, okay, I know I want my students to get here eventually, but what is the choir climate? We like a lot of times we go into these classrooms and we're like, oh, well, we did this in college or I did this in high school, so they should be able to do it. No, 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 no. You're going into a school that hasn't had a program in umpteenth years, or maybe their last teacher was there, but they weren't really that good, if we're being honest. Or, just so many things could impact that choir climate. So what is it that we are doing? We need to make sure that we observe what is happening as far as that choir culture is concerned, and then plan. You can't just go in there saying like, okay, I'm going to do this because I was able to do it. You have to take them into consideration, and you always 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 have to put your humans before other humans, parents included. Parents sometimes, and this is me saying this as a parent, parents can sometimes be barriers to our program. Let's be quite honest. I want y'all to sing this, or I want to be able, why didn't he get the so first and foremost, ma'am, Little Jimmy is struggling with pitch matching already. Now, if you want to go embarrass him, y'all can do that at what you can create a recital for him. You can have him go sing at y'all church. But as for this stage, he got to come to school every day. Do you really want little Jimmy to be embarrassed? Sometimes parents will push us to try to do things, and we're the teachers, we're the expert at the end of the day. Yes, take what they're saying in consideration, but at the end of the day, that's your classroom. And you know those humans inside your classroom, and you know what's best for your humans inside your classroom. So make sure, again, you're putting culture before curriculum, and you're prioritizing your humans before all the other humans and their opinions. Now, a joyous choir culture. How do we create that and always make sure that we're putting our humans first? Like I said before, my formula is very, very simple. Create a culture of confidence, create a culture of belonging, and create a culture of excellence. Let's dive in. So, creating a culture of confidence. I like to think of, as a matter of fact, this whole thing like an episode of Shark Tank. It was one of my mom's favorite shows to watch, and I would watch it with her, and we would yell at the TV like a sporting event, like, you should have taken more. Why didn't you take the deal, Mark Cuban? But it'd be like that sometimes. But with Shark Tank, for those of you who don't know what that is, you basically go into a meeting with a bunch of entrepreneurs, billionaires, quadrillionaires, and you're pitching your idea for a business, an invention of sort to try to get money. And you give the pitch, and then out of nowhere, they just start firing off questions left and right, left and right. And it's up to you to maintain your composure and know what it is that you have planned in order to land a deal. And that's exactly what it's like to build a culture of confidence. You are the person pitching, and your students are the actual sharks. They are the Shark Tank. Because in the Shark Tank, the actual show, they will ask the following questions. Why should I invest in you? Why should I trust you? Do you trust me to get the job done? And that's exactly what your students are asking. Why should we trust you as our teacher? Why should we trust you to get the job done? Do you trust me? Do you believe in me to get the job done? And keep in mind, every shark on that show, whether it's Damon Jones, I think that's his name. I know his name is Damon. And then the other guy, Mark Cuban, they have different interests. One of them owns a basketball team. One of them owns a clothing line. Like they have different things that they may be interested in. Every student that you have has their reasons for joining choir, and it is your job to know your sharks. I've met so many sharks back in my day and even now. Everybody has their reason for joining the choir. So when you figure out those reasons, you prioritize your humans by making sure you find ways to meet them where they need to be. If you have a shark that says, I love to sing, my entire family sings, I do this, challenge them. They want to go into your class to not only learn, but to be challenged and to be pushed. I tried this class before and I grew so much. Keep nurturing them. I think I can sing and I also have other talents. Give them space to look at those talents and help them to grow. Miss Fripp told me I could sing. I'm willing to try. Thank them for trying and keep affirming them. I have friends in the class. I also heard we go on trips. I'm a choir teacher today because my choir teacher in the fourth grade said, oh, we're going to Disney World. And I wanted to go on that trip. So those little hooks don't feel like, oh, they're gimmicky. No, 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 no. Everybody may have their different whys, but you're changing somebody's life by meeting that need. I wanted to travel. You got some other kids who say, someone sees this and someone sees that this keeps me focused. We'll find ways to keep them invested and pour into them and acknowledge them. Fripp, I don't really sing. I just going to do my best. I've heard that. And I'm just here so I can get a grade. Those are your Marshawn Lynches. That's what I call them. They're just there so you won't get fined. They just got to do what they got to do. You keep them engaged in some way, shape, or form, and maybe you hook them not through music, but maybe okay, they like administrative work. Oh, maybe they like this type of music. Leverage that. You just never know. So keep in mind that your humans, your sharks, they all have their reasons for why they want to be in choir. And just because it's different from yours doesn't mean you failed. Everybody's why for doing what they do, even to this day as a teacher, my why is completely different from when I started. Everybody's why is different, and that is okay.